If you have been practicing TIG welding and you still feel stuck, it might be because you're practicing the wrong things. Let's go over what I teach my students in private. If we want to get super dialed, we are going to start with some flat passes. But trust me, not like you're expecting. A lot of people may think that this seems kind of boring and they might be ahead of it at this stage. But what we're going to do is focus on some really important details with the flat exercise. And we're going to learn some new details that are going to help you get to the next stage here. Take a look at this here. This is something that most people are obviously very familiar with. This is called a stringer bead pass. It's actually just running a line of TIG weld on a blank piece of plate. There's no joint involved. It just allows you to control your heat and add filler material and learn to keep these details in check as you travel along the length of your pass. So what I like doing with my students is I like to get them to run several stringer beads on whatever pieces of plate they have that are clean and ready to go. And ideally they want to be practicing on a type of material that's the same alloy thickness ballpark range of the project they're going to end up welding on later. When we are running our stringer bead passes, we want our details to be perfect. As you can see here, the amount of filler material that I'm adding is just enough to build up good reinforcement. We don't want too much filler like what you see here. You see, with too much filler, we're actually starting to block our edges a little bit. They're not blending in smoothly to the base material. With this here, you can see that it is indeed blending in nice and smooth to the base material. We have a smooth transition. We don't have a ton of reinforcement, which is going to help because using too much reinforcement can actually block penetration. Taking a look at the finished thing here, we can see that the edges look absolutely bang on, nice and smooth. Another detail that you'll notice is when you have good edges with good control and consistency, the cleaning action will also turn out to be really smooth and consistent as well. These two usually go hand in hand. We want a good amount of filler. Again, like I mentioned, we don't want to stack it up too much. And we want to take a look at the consistency of the stepping distance as you moved along your plate. These are all details that surprisingly are actually things that a lot of people can go back and really dial in before moving to some more challenging stuff, even if they have good experience already. Check out these pages in my textbook right here. You can see a lot of the details of what I'm talking about laid out really clearly in my textbook here. This textbook is brand new, by the way. Go grab a copy. At this point, we want to really break down all of any troubleshooting that we may encounter. A lot of the time, people will notice their cleaning action looks kind of funny. A lot of people might notice that the consistency of their stepping could use a little bit of work. And this is the time to address these things and really dial them in. Like I said, we're just running stuff on a flat piece of plate. You're getting used to your setup, making maybe some slight adjustments with your gas level and your balance. These would be like the two settings I would probably dial in at this point, and that would be about it. Again, really focus on the amount of filler material that you're using each step that you take, and take a look at your edges and your cleaning action. These are vitally important to the next exercise that we're gonna do here. And the next exercise will be the butt joint. Now, for anybody who might not know what a butt joint is, you're just getting going with TIG welding, it's all good. A butt joint is when we have assembled two separate pieces of material together, forming a seam or a joint that needs to be welded. A lot of the time, these can be done with really basic welding coupons. Again, as long as they are clean and well prepared, we can work with stuff that is much thicker, like 3/16 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. And some of my favorite stuff to move people onto is 1/8 of an inch. This is a little bit thinner and a little more tricky to keep track of. Now, again, taking a look at my textbook pages here, you can see a few more details on how this joint is assembled and how it is tacked together. It may not seem like a big deal on how to tack joints together properly, but this is a massive deal that's going to set you up for success when you start running your passes. Now, once we get going with the actual weld out here, again, it's pretty much the same stuff that we saw with the stringer bead. However, we want to make sure that we really dial in our settings at this point, make sure we are not overheating and starting to sink into the base material. But again, welding hot enough that we get good penetration into the joint, regardless of the material thickness you're using. When you're finished, you want to take a look and see good blended edges, just like we talked about. This indicates that you balance the amount of heat to the filler material very well, and the cleaning action usually reflects that as well. Now, depending on material thickness, you want to take a look at the back side. Sometimes you may see a decent crack at some penetration. That's what you want. But again, if you're just getting going with this, don't stress about the second side yet. We want the top side to be absolutely perfect. Sometimes if you're doing butt joints with a thicker type material like 3/16 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, obviously unless you're like using super settings that I don't even bother using, you're not going to see any penetration on the back side. You might see a little bit of evidence of it here and there, but compared to this thin material here, you can see that it's very hard to get this exact duplication of penetration on thicker material like this. So again, just do the best you can. We really want to focus on the top side, not the bottom side. Now, here's what I recommend for people who want to get really good at this stuff. Start with thicker material, like we talked about, some 3/16 of an inch or even 1/4 of an inch. And then when you get confident at getting some good results with that thickness, I recommend people start to work with thinner material at that point. Switch to working with 1/8 of an inch or even 1/16 if you want to get super controlled. The goal with every one of these joints that we do is we want absolutely perfect heat control across all the different plate configurations that we just talked about in order. You start out with a thick stringer bead, then you start out with a thick butt weld, then you could probably bounce back and try a thin stringer bead, and then try a thin butt weld. Again, with all of those after practicing and working through in this progression, the understanding that you're going to have between the actual heat input that you're using with your torch in relation to the filler material that you're adding to it is going to improve so much. Obviously, if you're using thicker material like we talked about starting with, you're going to be using much more and have much more forgiveness with thicker plate. But then when we get consistent, we want to challenge ourselves to the next step. Using thinner plate is going to require less heat, but it's also going to give you less forgiveness. That's why it's a really good way to strategically work through these exercises in order. Now, after you get super dialed from this first phase here, this is a great time that we want to start to introduce some awkward angles. Now, what I mean when I say start to introduce some awkward angles, a good way to start with this is to just weld around some shapes. This is what I recommend right here. What you're going to do is you're going to weld around a round pipe that is butted up to a piece of plate, so you're basically doing a round fillet joint. This is what's so cool about this one. Check it out. Setting up normally, you're going to be kind of awkward. Your hand might be in your face trying to feed around a corner, but what you are going to do is bend your filler material. What this is going to do is it's going to get your hand out of your face and you're going to kind of feed from around the corner. This is one of my favorite exercises that I love teaching my students when they want to get to the next level of progression. Welding around a piece of pipe and trying to keep the profile consistent is a very challenging thing with this joint. And honestly, even for myself, I like to fire this up and practice a little bit here and there, so it just kind of dials in everything again for me, especially when I'm troubleshooting or trying to set up a new machine. It's a great way to really work through all of the steps we've been over so far. It's going to help you to understand your new machine or whatever you're getting set up with really well. One thing I recommend is what you see here. We can see half of the joint has been done in one direction and the other half has been done in the other. How did I do that? What you're going to do is this right here. You can see that I am setting up to weld around this piece of pipe with a normal underhand grip. Now compare it to the second half here. You can see that my hand is positioned completely different. I'm essentially welding from over top of the joint, and the welding perspective that you have to look at is completely different here. This is something that I call basically the difference between welding underhand and welding overhand. You can do this with all kinds of other joints too. This is another one of my favorite ones to practice. This is the lap joint here. And trying to get these two different torch techniques dialed so they almost look identical is a great way to build consistency, especially when you do it around a radius of a pipe. Like I talked about, it's difficult. Those two exercises that I just showed you there, the lap joint as well as going around the radius of a pipe, are massive level ups with everything that you've learned in this episode here so far. Now, this is the next and most challenging phase, but honestly, this is the one that's going to give you the biggest return for all the hard work that you've done so far. Check this out. You are going to create and weld a crazy shape. I've done a lot of these on my channel lately, and they've been a ton of fun to weld out and try and think of. Honestly, like trying to get the ideas for this is like some of the most fun I've had doing videos in a while. This one's pretty simple. I recommend starting with this one here first. It's very easy as far as the overall assembly of it. It's mostly just outside corners. When you're going to weld this one, it introduces relatively awkward angles, and it requires a little fixture or something to hold it steady for good positioning. And again, this is kind of like a real world situation here. That's right. When you're welding on like custom work or like custom projects that you're doing, you're not always set up on your table and everything's sturdy. You sometimes have to build fixtures. You have to build things to get your hand elevated so you're comfortable. And this exercise here does exactly that. It teaches you some of these real world scenarios. Now, this joint here, before you weld it out, you can tell how important your fit up and alignment skills are when you are trying to assemble and tack this joint together. Again, if you want really consistent results with the welding that you do, the joint assembly is a massive way to help yourself out with this. When you're welding it out, you're going to have to really focus on clean lines like we talked about with the previous exercises. The balance between the filler material that you're using and the heat input that you're putting into the project is extremely important. When you get good at something like this and you're happy with the overall results, this is going to teach you a lot about going around corners and connecting passes as well. I then recommend to moving on like something like this shape here. This is another trippy one that I came up with. You can see there's like 3 pyramids kind of put together. This one is much more challenging. Again, it requires really good and accurate fit up, of course. Assembling it, you actually have to work on keeping things straight and in line because it's a few separate pieces and it can get crooked if you're not paying attention. But here's the cool thing about this challenge here. With this one, it introduces fillet welding passes with very awkward angles. Again, you're going to be bending your rod, you're going to be peeking around your hands, and you're going to need to get comfortable with some kind of fixture so you can see clearly and decide which way you're going to have to head with your welding. Again, this one introduces some more variables, kind of adding on every time we do one of these new steps, right? Taking a look at it here, yeah, we can see that the outside corner is again pretty similar to the exercise we just did, but we have the added variable of the fillet joints, and these joints were done at awkward angles. And again, you have decisions to make with this. You're gonna have to decide which way some welds are gonna head. You have to make your decisions on me. Trust me, every choice that you make is a very important one. When you're able to get this one looking pretty bang on, you can move on to the final step here. This is something that really separates a lot of people from just kind of like knowing what they're doing as far as running passes to actually fully being able to weld out like a professional real-world project. This is the insane one that I came up with an idea for about a year ago. And again, these exercises that I'm showing you here of the different crazy projects that I've been talking about, they're all in the description below. You can go and watch them individually and give them a crack. This one here is very high level. Now it introduces the subject of heat control as far as the decisions that you are going to make on welding direction and weld sequencing, meaning which welds do you start with first and which ones do you save till later. And again, that's just the planning phase. When you start welding this one, it gives you some really awkward angles that you have to kind of peek around your own hands. There might be other parts of the project in your face or in your way, as well as you're going to see some very high show area for outside corners that are very visible. You want to make sure those look good. And down in the trough here, there are some tough fillet passes. And again, you want these to look good, but the heat is always changing in the directions that you head. So these decisions that you made earlier are very important. Now, these crazy projects that I've been doing here, I'm still coming up with ideas for more. And again, these are all made from welding coupons, basically scrap if you really wanted to. But the benefit of challenging yourself at this point is massive. My friends, hit the link to pick up a textbook right now. These textbooks are made 100% by me. They are printed here in Canada, and we personally package and ship these from my shop here. There's no drop shipping involved with this, no Amazon warehouse or anything like that. To everybody who's picked up a copy so far, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Do a random act of kindness for a stranger today. My name is Dusty James. Phil and Chill. Talk soon. Peace.